Hi, I'm out here in the cemetery today. I have a hobby of going out and finding tombstones and gathering the history, family history, regular history off of them. Sometimes I get out to one of these places and I don't have the ability to read what's on the tombstone. And there's a lot of things you can do to help decipher and discover what's written there. And I have a friend who has the same hobby, so I put together a little kit for him, and I want to show you what's in here. And first of all, I want to say be sure before you use anything in this type of a kit that you have the permission of the cemetery, unless it's a cemetery that is old and forgotten and hidden in the woods, which I like to go to. Sometimes it's hard to find the owners of those, and the stones are so far gone that you don't really have to worry about permission. But personally, from a personal standpoint, you don't want to do any harm to these monuments. They were set up to memorialize someone's life and as a tribute to them. So whatever you do needs to be, first of all, not harming them, and second of all, maybe improving their status to make them last longer. And also, the other purpose of them being there is to commemorate the history of that person. And we want to gather that information. So to be able to read it, make sure that you, like I say, have gotten permission. And I want to show you a few things that I have in here. First of all, I have a squirt bottle of water. I have a very soft bristled brush. This is actually a vegetable brush. We don't want to scratch anything on the stone that would cause damage. I have a sponge, and it has actually a little bit rougher surface on one side and a spongy surface on the other side. This is not metallic. You don't want to put metallic because it will damage the stone. The purpose of this is going to be just to remove some vegetation. And let's see, I also have a little container that contains flour, and I'll show you how to use that in just a moment. And also I have a small but strong flashlight. Alright, right now it's about 7 o'clock in the evening, and so I can see pretty well. The flashlight actually works better at this time of day. So let me show you a little bit of what I have going on here. Here is the tombstone. This is a cemetery that I'm at all the time. I've got permission from the commissioners to be here, to do a little bit of discovery and even do a little bit of repair work and digging around a few stones that have sunk into the ground, and so I have permission to be here. But I want to show you this stone. Let me zoom in on this one that I have. It's a small one, and it is in such a state that we really can't read what it says. You can tell there's something written on it, but the problem with this one that you commonly see, especially since we're near this tree, especially, and if you're in the woods it's really bad, that is that this stone is covered with a growth. Sometimes you can't even tell that it's a lichen or an algae. This is probably a lichen that's growing, and it's not really stained, the rock, the stone, but it is on there really strongly so that you can't get it off. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that we will be able to read this. First of all, I want to show you that we can see a few letters, but we really can't read what it says, especially at the bottom. And it has been broken off in the past, so it's just now sitting up against its base, and I'm just going to leave it that way. That's the way I found it. So what I want to do first is what I would do if I was out here. One of the easiest things to do is just take this little sponge and see if we can remove some of what's on here. So I always want to start with the least invasive thing first. I'm going to use the yellow side of the sponge. Just brush that off. Brushing off a lot of grass, clippings, and things like that. And I'm not pushing down at all, I'm just kind of going over it. And there's a little bit coming off, but really not much to speak of. So I'm going to turn over to the green side, which is a more of a plastic scouring side, and this usually has good results. The neat thing is, if you brush it without trying to get down into the cracks and just brush over, the lichen will actually stay in the cracks, and a lot of times you can read it better. So I'm just going to brush it this way. without really pushing into the cracks much at all. Really, I'm just cleaning off the flat part so that we can read the engraving better. Starting to see a little bit more. This part at the top that is a decoration, I can kind of get in there a little bit and clear that out. Can't really exactly tell what that is yet. It's kind of like a leaf right now. Right now, I can see most of the letters, the large letters, and so sometimes if I stand back a ways, I can see it a little better. And I can almost tell you the name. Let's zoom in a little bit, see what it is. Looks like this says, to me it looks like Ninny Anna Bell, and DAU is daughter of, maybe JD and AC. Maybe I got the last name just yet. Something. And then the information about her birth and death is still a little hard to read. Zoom in here. I see November 24th. Maybe 1873, can't really tell for sure. And a little bit more. So let's see if we can make that a little bit more readable. So the next thing I want to do is let's take our vegetable brush and see if we can maybe brush a little bit more off of there. I'm just barely brushing and I can see stuff coming loose. Still can't read it very well. The lichen is not coming out of the letters, and that's okay. So we're going to try a couple of other things. First of all, it's dark enough, meaning it's not bright sunlight, that I can use this flashlight. The idea is to shine the flashlight across the letters so that the shadow is in the cracks. And unless I zoom in, you may not be able to see this very well, but I can read the letters individually this way. And I see this as Minnie instead of Ninny. That makes a lot more sense. Minnie Anna Bell. I believe that's Anna. Daughter of, that is JD. I really can't see what it is, except when I look at the stones on either side, I can use that as a clue. I see a family name of Hendren, and I can kind of make out that, yeah, that probably is Hendren. But in the smaller font even more, I still can't see the dates or the age or the little inscription at the bottom, which is probably just a little biblical saying or something. So, still can't do that. I'm going to turn that light back off. And the last thing that I have to show you that sometimes will work is this. This is just regular flour. I've seen people do a lot of things with tombstones, and I'm really concerned sometimes. You don't want to use anything that has an acid or a base to it, or anything with strong chemicals. Very inert things is what we want to use. I've used dirt before. Just gathered up some dirt, put it on there, but I don't have a lot of dirt around here, it's all grass. So I'm going to take just a little bit of flour, and first of all I'm just going to sprinkle it on there. This should not hurt it at all. I watched a couple of videos of someone who did this, and then there was concern, did it damage the stone? So a couple years later they went back and looked at those stones. There was no damage. The rain washes it right off. Matter of fact, we could wash it right off if we wanted to. One thing I didn't do is to spray it with water, and sometimes that helps on a sunny day if you can darken the background and let the letters come out. But what I like to do with the flour is to sprinkle some on there and then take the sponge, the flat side that's not scouring, and just use that as a flat surface and just I'm going to rub across this and try to make the flower go into the letters and then brush off the surface and see if we can read it better. I'm usually amazed by how quickly and easily this works. If you can see that happening yet. Not so great on the decoration, but it might help a little bit. I'm going to go all the way down, and wow, you can really start to see numbers, and as you just kind of brush it, little by little, it jumps right out, and sometimes I'll need to shake some more onto there, but I don't brush off too much. So let me zoom in and show you what this looks like right now. I need a little bit more for the dates down here. We'll sometimes need to go sideways, get it in all the cracks. That works even better. Okay, let me show you what we have. I'm going to zoom in. And it just lights up like a Christmas tree here. Back it off just a little bit, and you can see it as I scrape it, what it's doing. So let's try this again. Okay. Put a little bit more on there. I'm going to go sideways this time. So what I can see right now says Minnie Anna Bell, daughter of S. I'm going to feel it. Looks like maybe S.O. and L.C. Hendren. Born November 20. I can't see that. Try her again. Scrape it a little more. I've lost a lot of flour there, and I've pulled it out of the cracks. I need to put it back in the cracks. Let me do it one more time. I'm just going to press down on it very light. Pull off just enough to still be able to read the letters. Now let me try the bristly side. Bristly side does not help. Try it again. Smaller the letters, the harder it is to read. Okay. And sometimes the wear just doesn't come out. But I can clearly see 94 here. Don't want to go too much. November 23rd, 1887. Died October something of 1894. And down here it usually says the age. So let me see if I can do that real easily. 10. You really got to work it carefully to see it. Aged. So many years, 10 months, and 5 days. And we'll see if the math works with what we found out up here. 94 to 87 to 94 would be 3 and 4, 7 years. November to October. So just shy of the year, so it'd be 6 years. And that could be what that is, 6 years. So we really can almost see that. Wow, look at that. 1887 to 1894, aged 6 years right here, 10 months, 5 days it looks like. And the last little description at the bottom, these are... Okay, I've kind of finessed it as much as I can, and it looks like that's the best we're going to get, but I can see a lot of things pretty clear. And it really is good if you'll take about 5 or 6 steps back. You can really read it from about where this camera is. It's even a little easier to read live, but I read Minnie Annabelle, daughter of S.D. and L.C. Hendren, born November 25th, 1887, died October 1st, 1894, aged 6 years, 10 months, 5 days. And I can almost read at the bottom, something free from all earthly something, and also free from all earthly something else, probably free from earthly pain, free from earthly woe, something like that. But it's so much better to gather the information on than when we first arrived. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll send this to my friend who is just we've kind of connected over this hobby, and we both kind of love it. So I hope you do too. Find your family history and others, and we're going to clean this stone off so with just plain water, just like it had rained, and should be just back like it was before. So thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful. Bye-bye.